Hi, do you know which club Haley worked at?
I'm sorry, but who is Haley? My name is Chief Graysky. And to answer your question, Haley Greenwood's body was found in an alley behind the club where she worked.
Which club is that?
The club's called the Blue Moon. Why do you ask? Do you have any information that could help us solve the case?
It's important to know which club she worked at to be able to investigate.
Are you suggesting that you have some leads on the investigation, detective? If so, please share them with me.
Hi.
Pardon me, but I don't know if I can be much help. I'm just a simple assistant, you know? 2 heads are better than 1, they say, but I don't know if my head is of any use.
How can you assist me with the case?
Well, I don't want to step on anyone's toes or anything, but I guess I could try to give some suggestions. You know what they say, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. But I'm not sure if my palate is sophisticated enough for that.
Please tell me.
Oh, I don't want to sound like a broken record or a fish out of water, but I'm not sure if my ideas are worth their salt. I don't want to be barking at the wrong tree or putting all my eggs in one basket. You see.
I welcome your ideas.
Oh, thank you for trusting me. But, you know what they say, don't count your chickens before they're hatched. And every dog has his day, but maybe this isn't mine.
Today is your day. Tell me what you know.
I'm not sure if I have much to offer, but I'll do my best to put my thinking cap on. After all, where there's smoke, there's fire, right? And you can't make an omelet without breaking some eggs. So, let me see if I can come up with something.
What have you come up with?
Well, I don't want to be a square peg in a round hole, but maybe we could try adding some cinnamon. You know, spice things up a bit. And they say an apple a day keeps the doctor away, so maybe we could try some applesauce in the batter. But don't judge a book by its cover, and it's not over till the fat lady sings, so take my suggestions with a grain of salt.
I didn't want your cake recipes. I wanted information on the murders.
Ah, right, the meadows. Let's see. You can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear, but from what they're saying, it sounds like a bed of roses. But don't count your chickens before they're hatched, and every cloud has a silver lining, so it could be worth checking out. But don't look a gift horse in the mouth, and you'll put all your eggs in one basket, so it might not be the only lead to follow.
Okay. What do you know about Haley Greenwoods?
I'm not sure. I'm just a small fry in a big pond, you know? But where there's smoke, there's fire, and there's no such thing as a free lunch, so maybe there's something to it. But don't judge a book by its cover, and it's not over till the fat lady sings, so it could be a red herring, you know?
What could be a red herring?
Pardon me, but it's not my place to say. After all, you can't make an
You're a
omelet
cop,
without breaking
tell
some
me.
eggs, and
It is your
don't count your
place.
chickens before they're hatched. But every cloud has a silver lining, and it's always darkest before the dawn, so there might be something there. But you'll look a gift horse in the mouth, and you'll put all your eggs in one basket, so it might not be the only lead to follow.
Please tell me.
Sorry, but it's not my cup of tea, you know? But where there's smoke, there's fire, and it takes 2 to tango, so maybe there's something there. But don't judge a book by its cover, and it's not over till the fat lady sings, so it could be a wild goose chase, you know?
Tell me, please.
Gosh, pardon me, but it's not my place to say. You can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear, you see. But every dog has his day, and it's always darkest before the dawn, so there might be something there. But don't count your chickens before they're hatched, and you'll put all your eggs in one basket, so it might not be the only lead to follow.
What is this lead?
Oh, well, it's just a shot in the dark, you know? But where there's smoke, there's fire, and it takes 2 to tango, so maybe there's something to it. But don't judge a book by its cover, and it's not over till the fat lady sings, so it could be a false alarm, you know?
Just tell me, please.
Oh dear, pardon me, but it's not my place to say. After all, you can make an omelette without breaking some eggs, and don't count your chickens before they're hatched. But every cloud has a silver lining, and it's always darkest before the dawn, so there might be something there. But don't look a gift horse in the mouth, and don't put all your eggs in one basket, so it might not be the only lead to follow.
Please tell me this leads.
I'm sorry, but I don't want to rock the boat, you know?
Just tell
And
me!
it's not my neck on the line, so I don't want to stick my nose where it doesn't belong. But where there's smoke, there's fire, and it takes two to tango, so maybe there's something to it. But don't judge a book by its cover, and it's not over till the fat lady sings, so it could be a false alarm, you know?
It's not a false alarm. Tell me.
Well, gee, pardon me, but you can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear, you see. And every dog has his day, but don't count your chickens before they're hatched. But every cloud has a silver lining, and don't look a gift horse in the mouth, but you can't have your cake and eat it too. But don't put all your eggs in one basket, and you can't make an omelet without breaking some eggs, so maybe there's something to this lead.
What lead?
Sorry, but it's not my cup of tea, you know.
Just
And it's
tell
not my neck on the line,
me!
so maybe it would be best to leave this to the experts. But where there's smoke, there's fire.
Where
and
there's smoke, there's fire.
don't judge
Well,
a book by
tell
its
me
cover,
this
and
goddamn
it takes two to
lead!
tango, so maybe there's something there. But don't look a gift horse in the mouth, and
But I'll say
always
80
darkest before the
idioms
dawn,
before
so
I ever tell you
maybe we should wait
anything.
for more information before jumping to conclusions.
Tell me the information you know. Tell me.
And-
Tell me.
Yeah, gee, sorry, but it's not my place to say.
Yes, it is your place to
it's
say
not my
you're a
neck on the line,
cop.
so maybe it
Tell
would be best
me.
to leave this to the experts.
You are the
But every
expert.
dog
You're
has
the
his day,
cop.
and
You
it takes
tell
two to
me the
tango, so
information.
maybe there's something there. But don't judge a book by its cover, and don't count your chickens before they're hatched, so it might not be the only lead to follow.
Tell me.
I'm sorry, but I don't want to step on anyone's toes, you see. And it's not my cup of tea, so I don't want to make a melon out of a molehill. But where there's smoke, there's fire, and don't look a gift horse in the mouth, so there could be something there.
There could
But
be,
you'll
but
put
you're
all
not
your
going
eggs
to
in one
tell me, are
basket,
you?
and it's always darkest before the dawn, so we should be careful not to jump to conclusions.
He's not going to tell me anything. Tell me, what do you know? What can you tell me about Nicola Grossman?
Nicola Grossman. Oh my, I heard about the tragedy that happened to him. It's so sad. He was a talented artist, you know. He used to come to my store often to buy fresh vegetables for his paintings. He had a unique way of capturing the colors and textures of the produce. But I don't know much else about him, I'm afraid.
You previously told me that he didn't visit your store.
Oh, I remember that conversation. Yes, that's right. I saw him once near my shop, and some other people were accusing him of urinating against the wall. But I defended him, saying that he wouldn't do something like that. It's not like him at all. But unfortunately, that was the last time I saw him before the tragic incident.
Do you think that that may have been motive to attack him?
Well, that's an interesting theory, Detective Martini. I never thought about it that way, but I don't think it's likely. Nicola was a well-respected artist in vaudeville, and I can't imagine anyone wanting to harm him over something as minor as that. Plus, the other two murders were completely different, so it doesn't seem like a pattern. But who knows? The truth is always stranger than fiction, isn't it?
Do you know anyone that may have had a problem with Nicola?
Micah, do you mean Maria Jansen? I didn't know her that much, but I can't think of anybody who would have had a problem with her. She was kind and friendly and would sometimes come to my store to buy some vegetables. She would even give me tips on how to cook them. It's such a tragedy that she was killed. I hope the police can find the person responsible for this.
Again, you also told me that she didn't visit your store previously.
You're right, I did say that. I'm sorry if I misspoke before, Detective Martini. I must have been confused. It's possible that she did come to my shop before and I just didn't remember. Or maybe she didn't come to my shop, but I saw her somewhere else in Vaudeville. I talk to so many people every day, it's hard to keep track of everyone. But either way, I still can't think of anyone who would have wanted to harm her.
Do you know anyone that may have wanted to harm Nicola?
That's a tough question, Detective. As I said earlier, I don't know much about his personal life, so I can't really think of anybody who would have had a motive to hurt him. But now that I think about it, there was one incident that happened a few months ago. One of my customers, a wealthy businessman, got into an argument with him at a local cafe. I don't know what the argument was about, but it got pretty heated. They were yelling and gesturing at each other, and then they both stormed out in opposite directions.
I appreciate your information.
Thanks, Detective. It's always a pleasure to chat with you. You make me feel like a real detective myself. By the way, have you tried my latest recipe for roasted vegetables? It's a real treat.
I haven't. What is your recipe?
Really? Well, let me tell you. It's a simple but delicious dish. First, chop some carrots, bell peppers, zucchini, and eggplant into bite-sized pieces. Then, toss them with olive oil, salt, and pepper. Roast them in the oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for about 30 minutes, or until they're tender and slightly browned. And voila! The perfect side dish for any meal. Trust me, Detective Martini, it's a crowd pleaser.
I'll try it sometime.
Oh, you did. That's fantastic.
I didn't something. I said I will try it sometime. Roasted vegetables, you know, it's like chopped up vegetables in a pan, roasted. It is nice, you know, peppers and zucchini is not what we call it in the UK, and you know, aubergine is eggplant, and zucchini is courgette. So you know that. You know, I'm not necessarily an eggplant and courgette fan, but the peppers are nice, and you know, roasted carrots, and you know, you can do other veggies in there. Just chop up any veggies you like and roast in a pan. And this is a good side dish. Okay. Now we know where there's a businessman. Hi. What can you tell me about Nicola Grossman? Hello? Am I imagining you? Hi.
Hey there, how are you doing today? Is there something specific you wanted to talk to me about?
Has Nicola Grossman ever came here?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understand what you mean. Could you please clarify your question? Are you asking about making Anna Gross wealthy, or are you asking about something else entirely? Nicola, are you referring to Nicola Grossman, one of the victims of the recent murders in Vaudeville? Why do you ask if he came here?
I was curious, as he was seen with someone wealthy.
Really, who was he seen with, do you know? And when was this?
I suspect Biagio at a cafe.
Biagio, are you saying you suspect that Biagio may have been involved with the murder of the 3 victims? That's a serious accusation. What makes you think that? Which cafe are you referring to? And what happened there that led you to believe that?
Well, they were witnessing having a serious argument with each other before the death.
I see. That's quite surprising. Do you remember when this argument took place and what it was about? Did you happen to overhear any of their conversation? It could be important information for the investigation. Are you saying that there was an altercation between Nikolai and someone wealthy? Possibly
Yes.
even someone who was present at the country club. When did this take place, and do you have more details about the incident that you can share? It could be
I-
crucial to help us solve the case.
I don't have more details, but I was hoping you could provide me with some.
Of course, happy to try and provide more information for you. Can you tell me a bit more about what you're looking for specifically? Is there anything in particular you're curious about or need clarification on? That's understandable. Can you remind me again what exactly you're hoping to find out or what questions you have? Perhaps if you narrow it down a little, it will be easier for me to help you.
Have you seen anyone from your club with Nicola Grossman?
I'm not quite sure what you mean by seeing anyone from me. Could you please clarify what you're asking? Oh, interesting question. Can you tell me why you're curious about whether or not Nicola was associated with any members of my club?
Could you just answer the question?
Sure, sorry about that. To answer your original question, yes, there were a few people from the Vaudeville Country Club who were present on the India business trip with Nikolai Grossman. Do you know why this information is important to the investigation?
Who was present?
Interesting. Are you asking about the president of the club or the president of the expedition to India?
Yes.
Sorry. Could you please clarify which question you're answering with yes?
Who were the members present on the expedition?
Ah, I see. To answer your previous question, Mr. and Mrs. Potter, Count Gravison, Haley Greenwood.
Could you repeat that? I accidentally pressed enter, trying to get into my thing. Damn it, I broke her by accidentally pressing enter. Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Potter, Count Graveson, Haley Greenwood. I'm gonna have to leave and come back, aren't I? Or just turn around. Or break the game entirely. Or leave entirely. Could you remind me who was present on the India expedition?
Of course, Detective Martini. But before we dive into that, may I ask you a personal question? What do you like to do in your free time?
Solve this crime.
Oh, I see. Well, then I hope we can help you find some answers. To answer your previous question, Mr. and Mrs. Potter, Count Gravison, Haley Greenwood, Nicola Grossman, and Maria Jensen went to India to evaluate the possibility of starting a business together there. Monsieur Saksabar and Marina H. were also supposed to be involved in the project, but they were left out at the last minute. However, during the expedition in India, there were tensions that led to the failure of the projects.
Was Biagio involved at all?
I'm not sure, Detective Martini. Why do you ask? Did you find any evidence linking Biagio to the murders?
He had an altercation with one of the victims.
Really, which victim did he have an altercation with? And do you have more details about what happened during the altercation?
Nicola Grossman, but I was hoping you could provide me with information why they might be arguing.
That's interesting, Detective Martini. I had no idea that Biagio had an argument with Mr. Grossman. Do you have any idea what the argument was about?
I don't, I'm afraid. Hello!
Well. It seems like the cat has got your tongue. Don't beat around the bush, my dear. Spit it out, or I shall assume you're here to count the leaves on the trees.
What can you tell me about Nicola Grossman?
Ah, Nicola Grossman. A true diamond in the rough, if you ask me. but I'm afraid I cannot spill the beans on his personal life. It's not my place to wear someone else's dirty laundry, now is it?
What dirty laundry?
I'm sorry, but I'm not in the habit of airing other people's linen in public. It's not my cup of tea, and I wouldn't want to stir the pot. Perhaps you should try asking his other acquaintances.
What other acquaintances?
Requirements? My dear, it's not a matter of requirements. It's a matter of discretion and tact. You can't just go about blabbering like a magpie and expect to get the answers you want. You need to earn the trust of those who hold the key to the information you seek. And trust me, it's not an easy nut to crack.
Who are his other acquaintances?
My. It seems like you're fishing for clues like a catfish in a pond. But let me tell you, my friend, you're barking up the wrong tree. The people you're looking for are like needles in a haystack. They're as rare as hen's teeth and as elusive as a unicorn. But if you're determined to find them, you'll have to do better than beating around the bush.
How about I pay you?
Oh, money talks, does it? You think you can grease the wheels and make me spill the beans? You're as green as grass, my dear. Money can't buy everything, especially not the trust and loyalty of those who hold the key to the information you seek. But if you're feeling generous, who am I to say no to a little bit of sugar in my tea?
And a bit of sweetened tea surely helps lighten the mood and develop acquaintances, correct?
Oh, the bittersweet. A snake in the grass, if I ever saw one. He's as sly as a fox, that one. But don't let his sweet talk fool you, my friend. He's as sharp as a tack and twice as dangerous. If you're looking to dance with the devil, be prepared to pay the piper.
And how is he dangerous?
Dangerous? Why? He's as slippery as an eel, that one. He has more tricks up his sleeve than a circus clown, and he's not afraid to use them. If you're not careful, he'll have you eating out of the palm of his hand faster than you can say Jack Robinson. But don't worry, my dear. You're in good hands with me.
What did he do to Jack Robinson?
Ha! It seems like you're trying to pull the wool over my eyes, my friend. But let me tell you, you're barking up the wrong tree. The expression faster than you can say Jack Robinson is just a figure of speech, and has nothing to do with an actual person named Jack Robinson. Don't try to teach your grandmother to suck eggs now.
Who were we talking about again? Sorry, could you remind me who we were talking about?
Well, my dear, if you can't keep up with the conversation, perhaps you should quit while you're ahead. No need to throw the baby out with the bath water, if you know what I mean. But if you insist on continuing this game of cat and mouse, be prepared to eat humble pie.
I'm humbly asking you for help with it.
Ah, my friend, you really are a fish out of water, aren't you? But don't worry, the world is your oyster, and there's plenty of other fish in the sea. Just remember, every dog has his day, and what goes around comes around. So if you're feeling like a deer in headlights, just take a chill pill and go with the flow. After all, life is just a box of chocolates, and you never know what you're going to get.
Have you ever been to a cafe with Nicola Grossman?
Cafes with Nicola Grossman? Well, my dear, that's like looking for a needle in a haystack. You're barking up the wrong tree if you think I'm going to spill the beans on my personal affairs. But if you're looking for a silver lining in a cloudy day, let me tell you this. I wouldn't be caught dead with someone who didn't share my values and tastes. As they say, birds of a feather flock together, and I'm not one to break the mold.
How do your tastes differ from his?
Tastes? My. It seems like you're trying to peel an onion with boxing gloves on. But let me enlighten you, my friend. My taste is as refined as a fine wine, while his taste was as crude as a blunt axe. He had the palate of a goat, whereas I have the palate of a king. But don't take my word for it. The proof of the pudding is in the eating.
And is this why you had an argument with him?
Argument? You must be barking up the wrong tree, my dear. I wouldn't waste my breath arguing with someone who couldn't tell the difference between a cat's whisker and a horse's tail. But I suppose you could say we had a disagreement, like two ships passing in the night. He was barking up the wrong tree, as they say, but I wouldn't expect someone like you to understand that.
And what was he trying to suggest?
Oh, my friend, it seems like you're trying to throw a spanner in the works. But let me assure you, I'm not one to be caught with my pants down. His suggestions were as useful as a screen door on a submarine, if you know what I mean. He was trying to put lipstick on a pig, but we both know that's like trying to teach an old dog new tricks. At the end of the day, he was just tilting at windmills, while I was busy making hay while the sun shines.
What was he suggesting?
My dear, I'm afraid you're asking the wrong question. Nikola Grossman was a man of many words, but little substance. He was all bark and no bite, if you catch my drift. He was like a bull in a china shop, always causing a ruckus, but never achieving anything. So, forgive me if I don't remember his insignificant ramblings.
So you had a disagreement because he couldn't fulfill a promise that he made to you.
Promise for the Mac? Now, that's like trying to find a needle in a haystack. But if you insist on digging a hole to China, let me tell you this. I wouldn't trust him to organize a piss-up in a brewery, let alone fulfill a promise for the Mac. He was all hat and no cow, if you know what I mean. But don't take my word for it. The proof of the pudding is in the eating. And the pudding he served was as stale as a 3-day-old loaf of bread.
Okay, so we're getting somewhere. So he seems to have some sort of involvement with it for certain. With Nikola Grossman, he fell out with him over some things that, you know, they disagreed on. He couldn't fulfill his promises, probably artistic things, you know, he couldn't draw and he disagreed with what it was. And maybe that caused the murder. Okay, so... Did you know that Maria Jansen was found in your forests?
I see. Maria Jansen, the poor girl. Yes, I heard about her passing. It is a tragedy that she was found here. But know that I am not responsible for her death. The Blackwoods is a peaceful place, and I keep it that way. My duty is to protect this forest and its inhabitants, both human and animal alike.
What if she was causing harm to your animals?
My dear, animals and humans are not so different from one another. We all have our flaws and imperfections. But we must learn to coexist in this world, to live in harmony with one another. If someone is causing harm to the animals in the Blackwoods, I would have intervened and tried to teach them the error of their ways. But I can assure you that no harm would have come to them at my hands.
How would you teach them the error of their ways?
Well, Detective Martini, teaching is an art. One cannot simply lecture or scold a person and expect them to understand. It takes patience, compassion, and understanding. Sometimes I use stories and metaphors to help make a point. Other times, I might take them on a walk through the forest and show them the beauty and interconnectedness of all things. And sometimes, I might just sit with them in silence and allow them to reflect on their actions and their impact on the world around them.
How can you tell me about your interconnectedness with nature?
Detective, I apologize if I was unclear before. Connecting with nature is essential to my being. It is a way for me to feel grounded and at peace. The Blackwoods is full of life, and I am constantly amazed by the intricate web of connections that exist within it. The trees provide shelter and food for the animals, and the animals in turn spread seeds and fertilize the soil. Even the smallest creature can make a significant difference in this ecosystem. It is a delicate balance, and I feel honored to be a part of it.
Have you ever heard of a human transforming into an animal?
Oh, my dear, I've heard many stories in my time living in the Blackwoods. Some say that there are people who can transform into animals, but I'm not sure if I believe it. However, I do believe that we are all capable of transformation. Just like the caterpillar transforms into a beautiful butterfly, we too can transform and grow throughout our lives. It's all a matter of how we choose to perceive the world and ourselves.
Have you ever perceived yourself as an animal?
I must admit, my dear, there are times when I feel more connected to the natural world than to the human one. Living in the forest has made me more attuned to the rhythms and cycles of nature. And sometimes I feel like I can sense the emotions and intentions of the creatures around me. It's a strange feeling, but it's also a gift. I feel blessed to be able to experience the beauty and wonder of this forest every day.
Is there any particular animal you feel connected with?
There are many animals in the Blackwoods that I have a special connection with, my dear. But if I had to choose just one, it would be the deer. They are such gentle and graceful beings, and they always seem to know just what to do to maintain balance in the ecosystem. Whenever I see a deer in the woods, it fills me with a deep sense of peace and tranquility.
Have you ever thought of yourself as a wolf?
Oh my, a wolf. That would be quite a transformation, wouldn't it? But no, my dear, I cannot say that I've ever thought of myself as a wolf. I am content with being a humble hermit, living in harmony with the creatures of the forest. While it is true that wolves can be fierce and powerful creatures, they are also vulnerable in their own way. Just like all creatures, they must eat, sleep, and protect their young. It is this delicate and intricate web of life that fascinates me and keeps me connected to the natural world.
And if you had to protect the forests, would you choose to become a wolf to
I'm sorry,
protect your
my
children?
dear. I'm not sure I understand your question. Could you please clarify
That
what
was
you are
rude.
asking me to choose?
Would you choose to become a wolf if you had to protect your forests?
My dear, if only it were so simple. While the idea of becoming a wolf to protect the Blackwoods is certainly intriguing, it is not something that can be done lightly. Transforming into an animal is not something that can be learned or taught, but rather a gift that is bestowed upon a select few. And even then, it comes with its own set of challenges and responsibilities. No, for me, protecting the Blackwoods means being true to myself and to the creatures that call it home.
And do you know anyone that may have been bestowed with this gift?
An anteater with the ability to transform. That is quite a curious thought. But you know, my dear, it's not about who has the ability to transform or not. It's about how we choose to use our gifts and talents to make a difference in the world. Whether we are wolves or ants or humans, we all have a role to play in the grand scheme of things. And if we can learn to live in harmony with one another and with the natural world, then perhaps we can create a more peaceful and sustainable future for us all.
Do you know anyone that might abuse such a power?
Well, my dear, the idea of someone abusing the power to transform into an animal is certainly a troubling one. But as with any gift or talent, it is up to the individual to use it wisely and responsibly. And while there may be those who seek to exploit their abilities for personal gain or power, there are also those who use their abilities to protect and serve the greater good. It's all a matter of perspective, really. But as for me, my only concern is protecting the Blackwoods and its inhabitants, no matter what form they may take.
Then how did you fail to protect Maria Jansen from her murderer?
Oh, my dear, it breaks my heart that Maria Jansen was not able to find the peace that she deserved. But you must understand, being a protector of the forest does not mean that one has the ability to control all that happens within its boundaries. The world is a complex and ever-changing place, and sometimes, despite our best efforts, tragedy can occur. But we must not lose hope or give up on our mission to create a better world. We must continue to learn and grow and strive for a more peaceful and harmonious existence.
Are you sure you didn't witness anything that could be helpful with this case?
My dear, I wish I could be of more help to you in this case. But as I've said before, I am but a humble hermit living in the Blackwoods. My knowledge of the outside world is limited, and my focus is on protecting this beautiful and sacred land. However, if there is anything else that I can do to assist you, please do not hesitate to ask. I may not have all the answers, but I am always willing to lend an ear and offer my support in any way that I can.